Hello, my name is Delia Suarez, and I will be talking to you about behaviors in children with developmental delays. With me today are
Valerie,
Claudia,
Jesus.
It is a very difficult time for parents when they start noticing that their child is falling behind in accomplishing their developmental milestones. A child that has a developmental delay may be more difficult to manage in many instances because he has difficulty expressing his needs, or because he doesn't have the mobility to get something that he wants and that is out of his reach. Today, I will briefly talk to you about developmental delays, and I will give you a few strategies on how to manage your child's behavior in a peaceful and helpful way. What is a developmental delay? According to the Early Intervention Dictionary by Janine Coleman, a developmental delay is a condition of an infant or young child who is not achieving new skills in the typical time frame or is exhibiting behaviors that are not appropriate for his age. Some children who are developmentally delayed are later on diagnosed with a developmental disability, while other children that have a developmental delay will catch up with his typically developing peers. I have for you a checklist of your child's growth from birth to 5. And you can see in here what is typical of a child and typical behaviors from 3 months to 5 years. A developmental delay may occur in the 5 areas of development. The 5 areas of development are physical development, social and emotional, cognitive, self-help, and speech and language. So, as you can see in your handout, by the time a child is 1 year old, the typical child will be able to pull himself up and cruise around the furniture, say mama and dada when referring to his parents, finger feed himself solid foods, follow a simple direction, like bring me your shoes, point to objects that he knows. If you say, where are your shoes, he will point to them. Begin to use a spoon and hold an open cup. Again, if you look at your handout, by the time he is 2 years old, the typical child will be able to walk up and down stairs, name more than 3 body parts, scribble, stack up to 3 or 4 toys, use 2 or 3 word sentences, enjoys doing things for himself, he's becoming independent, and uses objects as they should be used. He knows that a toothbrush is for brushing his teeth and so on. When a child is having difficulties meeting his milestones, he may express frustration and anger and may not be able to calm himself without your support. Let's talk about tantrums. According to an article from the Mayo Clinic, a tantrum will last 3 minutes if not interrupted. Make sure the child cannot injure himself. Allow the child to have the tantrum and watch the clock for 3 minutes. Do not speak to the child at all. Do not make eye contact. Pretend to read a book. When the child has calmed down, hold him close and tell him you love him and that you are happy that he is feeling better. If you speak to the child or you make eye contact, the tantrum will be interrupted and it will begin again. So another 3 minutes happens, so we don't want to interrupt the tantrum. When the family goes to public places, it is best to plan ahead to avoid an unwanted behavior. Make sure your child knows ahead of time of family plans. The child needs to know that in half an hour you're leaving so that he knows that he's going to have to stop whatever he's doing. Try to visit restaurants that are kid-friendly. This way, you will not be embarrassed when your child has a meltdown at the table. Order ahead of time. Many restaurants have their menus online. So when you make your reservation, maybe you can actually order. That way, when you get to the restaurant, your food will be ready. Ask for a table away from loud voices and loud music. This may upset your child, particularly if he has sensory problems. Do not go for late dinners or during a time when you know your child is tired in hopes that he will fall asleep. This may backfire and you will have a very irritated child. Practice eating at the table at home. If you allow your child to eat in front of the TV or in his room or in his playroom at home, It'll be difficult for him to sit at the table and eat with you in a restaurant. If your child has a major meltdown at the restaurant, this is not the time to wait out the tantrum. It is best to pack your dinner and enjoy it at home. Explain to your child where you are going and the purpose of your trip every time you leave your house. You may offer a reward for good behavior. You can say to him, if you can sit on the cart while we buy our groceries, then we can stop and buy ice cream afterwards. If you can see a tantrum coming, there are ways that you can stop the tantrum before it happens, and that way your child won't be so upset. So an upcoming tantrum, intervene. It's the first thing you should do. If you know that something is going to upset him, immediately step in so that he will not fall into a tantrum. Turn the activity into something fun. If you know that bathtub is particularly hard for him, make it into a fun activity and blow bubbles in the bathtub. Redirect. Make sure that when you see that he's getting frustrated with a game, give him something else to do before he gets so frustrated that he cannot control a tantrum. And of course, choose your battles. If there's something that he doesn't like, for example, oatmeal every morning, maybe the texture is not good for him, you can offer him Cheerios and you'll be fine. Make sure your child has many opportunities to socialize. Plan trips to the library during story hour. Take him to the park where he can play with other children and play with him yourself. Join play groups so that he can socialize with typically developing children and that he can see behaviors that may be unknown to him. I hope that the ideas that I have presented to you today have helped you. Today we have talked about developmental delays and how they can influence children's behavior. We have discussed a few strategies that you may be able to use when your child is upset. Remember that your child does not enjoy having a tantrum, and make sure that you always regard good behavior. Thank you.